Hi lovies, it's me. I hope you all are doing well. I'm really sorry about being a week late on video 6 for the YouTube Pagan Challenge. I had every intention of getting it up last weekend, but the weather decided to go against me. We had record low temperatures. Around my house it reached negative 26 degrees Fahrenheit, and that was without the wind chill. And we have well water where we live, and our well froze. And so therefore we had no running water in my house all weekend last weekend. So we spent Saturday through Monday at John's parents' house. And I could have done a video there, but we were too busy worrying about whether or not we were going to come home to like burst pipes and a flood in our basement and all that shit. So we're home now. We have running water. Tuesday went up to 50 degrees, so everything thawed out and everything's fine. There's nothing burst or broken or flooded, so we're good. I actually figured this week 7 and week 6 kind of meshed together, at least for me personally, quite well, so I'll just combine the two videos for this week. My cultural influences. Now, this was a topic that was actually quite difficult for me to put into any sorts of coherent explanation. I'm influenced by a lot of things, and I never really paid much attention as to whether or not they boiled down to any particular culture or anything like that. I'm very influenced by people in my life, and I'm influenced by music, I'm influenced by artwork, I'm influenced by a whole bunch of different things. I'm sorry, there's a dog hair right in my eyelash. It's all I could see. So, yeah, I never really sat down and thought about whether or not there was a particular culture behind it. And I was talking to John about it maybe a few days ago, and he brought up a very good point. We live in Rhode Island right now, but I have only been in Rhode Island for, I think, 3 years this summer. I grew up and lived in Connecticut up until I moved here. So, as with any state, New England in general too, each state has its own particular personality. It's got their own characteristics, their own culture, their own stereotypes. And so I'm often reminded of my Connecticut upbringing. And I never really thought about that much outside of, John and I will play fight. We fight about which state is better, and I always say Connecticut wins, but it's amazing how, having grown up there, you don't realize or you don't notice the certain personality traits that you get from living in a particular area. You don't notice the characteristics of that area until you move out of it. And even moving to the smallest state in the country, Rhode Island is definitely, it's got its own personality. The people here have their own ways. So I guess he brought up a really good point, and I am very much influenced by having grown up in Connecticut. I guess it's really hard for me to explain, considering I've never really had to explain it before. And when it boils down to the very basics, I guess I really don't even know what my Connecticut culture means, because I grew up with it. It was just always there, and I don't notice it in myself. But according to everyone here in Rhode Island, at least those who are really close to me, I have my own ways, and I'm very Connecticut. So that would be my biggest influence, I think, even though I don't notice it much in myself. But if everybody else says it's there, then it's there, so I'll give it to them. As far as, and this is kind of where I split into video 7 for how I feel about sacred texts and myths, my particular spirituality is very specific in terms of the ideologies and mythologies that I have chosen to follow. You all know that I like to consider myself a Northern pagan, at least in terms of my belief system and the gods that I work with, or at least reference. And so a big part of that is learning not only the culture of the Norse people, of the Scandinavian people, but also their myths and their sacred texts. And I've read them all. I've read the myths. I've read their poems, their sagas, and the Havamal, the prose Edda, and things like that. And they're very important to my belief system. But I understand that with any myth, they should be taken with a grain of salt. Myths. The beautiful thing about myths is that there's an underlying lesson or main. I guess I don't know what I want to say. As usual, I didn't plan this out very well before I filmed it. I just wanted to get it over with and up because I'm late and I hate being late and putting videos up. But you know, there's a basic lesson to be learned in each myth and each story, each poem. But the beautiful thing about that is it's also open to interpretation. So you take from it what each person takes from it is based on them. You know, what you might take from one myth, might be different than what I take from it. So I don't hold them as gospel. I don't preach them. I don't look at them as this is the way and the only way. I look at them as maybe a basic guideline to understanding where the people were spiritually, mentally, how they viewed their particular gods and goddesses and things like that. Maybe how they viewed society then, because not all myths are about gods and goddesses, obviously. They're also about people and societies and things like that. So I think kind of tying in with my cultural influences, it's really important for me to get a better understanding of where they were coming from, what they were drawing from, what their influences were, and then applying that to my own spiritual belief. I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't think I ever make much sense, but I try anyway. So while I really love the myths and any sacred texts that I can sink my teeth into, or that I have sunk my teeth into, I try not to hold them as carved in stone, because at any point I could pick up, you know, my Norse myth book and read one of the myths that I've read probably 10 times already, and from it get a different lesson today than I got yesterday. So I think they're just a great starting point for understanding where a particular culture or a particular people were coming from, how they viewed their personal belief system or how they viewed life as they saw it. So that's kind of how I hold them. I think they're important. I think if you have a belief system that has their own set of myths, you should definitely invest the time in reading them, because not only is it beneficial for you, but it kind of keeps the older mentality alive as well. So that's kind of how I view it. I don't know if that made sense. I'm really sorry. I hope that made sense. I really should start scripting my videos, I think, because I don't know why you guys listen to me ramble as much as I do. But anyways, that's week 6 and week 7. I hope you all are enjoying your weekend, and as always, love and blessings. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.